Well, hello there, and welcome to another interview presented by me, Jack Lucas Caffrey. Now, the last time around, we had someone who worked on the Mario franchise. This time around, we have someone who worked on the Sonic franchise, and it's none other than one of the many music remix artists for the game Shadow Generation. So, would you please welcome none other than G-Wiz of the Stars. How are you doing today?
Hello. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to talk about the silly stuff that I do with you. Who did you have for the Mario series on?
I heard Mercedes Rose, the original voice of Rosalina.
Oh, wonderful. Love Rosalina. She's great. She's my favorite Mario character. Except for maybe Gino. I like Gino as well, but yeah.
Anyway, enough about Mario and right on to yourself. And the first question I'd like to ask you is how did you actually get into the whole world of music?
Well, I guess it kind of takes some setup. My name is Alyssa. My performance name is G-Wiz. My username online is G-Wiz of the Stars. So that's kind of how you can navigate the terminology there. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm 34. I've been making music most of my life. I come from a music family. So my dad played in rock bands. My mom used to play flute in an orchestra. Uh, I grew up going to like big concerts because my dad in his 30s and 40s was a music promoter. So I would literally I have memories of like getting picked up from school and then going to the airport and then these three, women are in the car and I don't know who they are. Turns out they're Destiny's Child. Beyonce is in the car. And as a kid, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know who Beyonce. I probably couldn't even pronounce that as a kid. But that kind of introduced me to the world of music. And then as my dad exited that industry, I got really into grassroots DIY like punk rock stuff. So, playing into like house party shows and in like the backs of like stores to like, a crowd of like crazy, like 30 crazy kids. But one of the most defining things of my like upbringing was the emergence of internet culture. So like 2000s and like specifically like Newgrounds, Flash movies, keygens, MIDIs and stuff like that. So between that and just being a big video game person, like it was natural that I kind of like aligned myself with electronic music in some way eventually. And in high school, I started making music as G-Wiz, and I've taken some time off. I've come back as G-Wiz, and then but from 2017 and on, I've been pretty like just doing it. So yeah.
Where did you actually get the name G-Wiz of the Stars? Because like it's very, it's quite catchy. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know what I mean?
Thank you. That's the good branding at work right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So G-Wiz was a nickname that I've had since I was a little kid. And as the story goes, so my full name is Alyssa Garland Moore. Legally, Garland is my first name, so it starts with a G. I love that name. When I was in fourth grade, there was a vocab sheet because we were doing like medieval times, like vocab, and there was a vocab sheet, and like one of the things on it, like underneath, like there was like words and phrases and stuff, and like G-Wiz, like GEE-WHIZ was one of the listed things. There's this kid, if he's listening, Narayan, shouts to Narayan. Uh, he was like, "Oh, G-Wiz, that's like you, 'cause your name starts with G and you're a whiz." And I was like, "I'm a whiz? Okay." So I didn't. It stuck, and it sucks. I didn't have a choice. Like people just started calling me that. I was like, oh, gee whiz, that's kind of catchy. And then like it really caught on. Like it from, and that was in fourth grade, like year 2000, all the way through grade school. Everyone was calling me gee whiz. I started college. It migrated over there. So naturally, when I was making music, it made sense to use that name. Of the Stars is kind of my way of like separating myself from the many other G-Wizes out there. There's a big G-Wiz. There's DJ G-Wiz from New York. He's a like I think like in the 80s and 90s. He's a DJ. So like mad respect to him. There's G-Wiz from the VR space. So if you go on VR chat, there's a person on there named G-Wiz who's very popular there. So shouts to them. So I use Of the Stars as a way to like differentiate myself.
And then eventually he went on to remix a lot of artists over the years. I know one of them was the Vocaloid producer Creep P. So how do these sort of how do you get to remix all these sort of artists and their songs and yeah?
So my whole thing is I'm your favorite artist's favorite artist. I'm not anyone's favorite artist. I'm your favorite artist's favorite artist. So I've had a pretty niche career, like a pretty like humbly like, moderately successful in a bubble in a very specific niche. But my friends are all very successful. So I have a lot of friends who know what they're doing with music, are full-time musicians, et cetera, et cetera. And my friend Lucy is one of those people, creepy, as it were. And yeah, I mean, it was as simple as like we kind of got to know each other during the pandemic since we're all like me and my musician friends were all on Discord calls a lot, I don't know if you're familiar with MagFest, but
Oh, of course I'm familiar with Magfest.
yeah, naturally like all my big group of like friends, music DJs, producers who hung out there, we all hung out a lot during the pandemic on Discord and whatnot. So that's when I kind of got to know Lucy. And then, yeah, as she was making, some remix EPs or singles or whatever it was, I got to remix her song. It was like RIP was one of them. Can't remember the other one. It was a few years ago. So, I mean, that's basically it. It's just my friends. I don't really like use remixes to like clout chase. I use remixes to like when a friend invites me on, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do something that's like representative of our friendship or something like that.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So that makes sense. Yeah. 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 So what other like artists would you like remix or done like music with? For just a bit of a friend
Yeah, I mean,
favorite thing.
the big one is definitely Rob KTA. We both wrote the soundtrack for a video game called Victory Heat Rally a few years ago during the pandemic as well, right around the same time I met Lucy. Rob is an incredible musician and really helped me grow as a producer during that time. He asked me to be on, a soundtrack with him for that game, and we collaborate. I collaborated more with him than I guess anyone I ever have. What a lot of people don't know also is that almost not all my remixes, but a few of my remixes, I get help from my partner, love of my life, Luke, who you may know from the band Anamanaguchi. They've worked on a number of video game projects like Scott Pilgrim and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Um, just proximity to Luke in my life, being their partner, like, has really like upped my production game. Like I just like get the all the all their talent kind of like seeps onto me just from like watching them make stuff. So
Brilliant, brilliant. And you mentioned a little bit that you did a little bit of the soundtrack to Victory Heat Rally. So I was going to ask you about that later in the interview, but I might as well ask about it now because what inspired you like making that soundtrack? Because it's very like, I feel like there's a lot of inspirations that were going into that one thing. Like, what was going on in your mind? Like, what was inspiring you?
well, I mean, certainly like Rob and I were aligned on like what we wanted to do as far as like a kind of a sound palette and like tangible sound for that game. A lot of 90s rave. So, I'll use an example here. Like everyone knows Jet Set Radio soundtrack, right?
Oh
Like,
yes,
yeah,
oh yeah,
everyone loves the Jet Set Radio soundtrack. Like, rock that, little homie. Like, they have those samples in it, right?
yeah.
Those samples aren't from Jet Set Radio. But a lot of
No.
people don't realize is that Jet Set Radio, and I mean a lot of the samples in it are taken from 90s rave sound libraries.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the Ridge Racer soundtracks, it really becomes apparent that a lot of these Japanese composers back in the 90s, kind of the era in which Victory Heat Rally pays homage to, um, they were using these rave sounds. So we kind of use that and we were both rave artists, DJs, so we kind of used that as a launch pad to make that soundtrack. And yeah, I mean, I was listening to basically a lot of like happy hardcore, the Bonkers collections. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but classic happy hardcore and hardcore rave compilations. Um, uh, yeah, just basically a bunch of 90s music, like 90s electronic music, and trying to kind of like have that kind of like arcade neo arcade feel. So
Yeah, exactly. And especially with all the samples and all that that these composers would have been using back in the day in the 90s, and not even just in Japan. I know a few Irish dance acts in the 90s used the same Jet Set Radio sample stuff. Like it'd only be playing here in Ireland back in the 90s. So
straight up, I was listening to, I can't remember the name of the song, but I was listening to a happy hardcore song from like 1995 recently, and it had some of the same vocal stabs that were in Jet Set Radio. I was like, ah, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. I mean with rave music, that's very like, you know, your side of the world centric. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
and what made you eventually become a DJ? Like what sort of clicked in you and went, yep, I'm gonna be a DJ now?
So it's two things. So I don't want to give it like full credit to either of these things. It was kind of these two things together. When I was much long before I started DJing, I had a friend at school, just like with the G-Wiz nickname story, okay? I swear my friends at school just defined my life for me by accident. I had a friend at school who's like, you'd be a good DJ. I'm like, what? I would be a good DJ? Okay, sure. I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do that one day. I was already kind of more into music production. Like I had like FL Studio when I was in high school, and I had Reason and stuff like that. Like the trials and cracks of the time, like in
Yeah.
2000s. So um but then I remember, so yeah, as the 2010s came, like in 2010, I joined a band and I was in several bands for a few years. But around 2014, 15, I want to say, I was at a convention called Tokyo in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I saw a set by DJ Jiminy Cricket, who's a rave DJ, pretty well known on the West Coast, out here in the US. I just saw her performing. I was like, that's so cool. Like, I want to like DJ, like, because she was like spinning like Pokemon music, and like I'd never been to a video game rave before. This was long before this stuff was like really like common and stuff like that. So I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And then so I did it.
So when you're doing like DJ sets and you're at the mixing desk, what do you actually do? Like what does a DJ do when they're on the stage? Because like my dad and I will watch like a couple of bigger DJs, like that is escaping me the name. David Guetta, yeah, David Guetta. We
Yeah.
watch like people as big as him, and we're just looking and going, is he actually doing anything? He's just playing an MP3, pretending to push a bunch of buttons. So what are you actually doing when you're DJing on the stage?
So I can't speak on behalf of other DJs because that's a whole thing in the DJ world. Is sometimes some of the really big DJs they get caught pre-making their sets, not doing anything live, and that becomes a whole controversy. That's not me though. And even if it were, I'm not big enough for it to become a controversy. So the what I do is, before a gig, I generally create a set list, like if I were a band or something like that, or a different kind of musician. So I kind of like have an idea of what I want to play going in, but I never like 100% stick to it. Basically, I go in and in my brain, I've mapped out like, okay, I want to play this part of this song, and then this part of this song, I'm gonna maybe bring in the other song so that the drums from the first song are layering on the beginning of the second song, and it's like I'm essentially just kind of like, you know, uh, doing a nonstop. I mean, simple as that. Mix into, throughout whatever the tracks I'm gonna play. Um, what's interesting about doing it live though is you kind of realize if you change anything, if that's like a part in the song that you decide to transition out of instead, or maybe you don't use a song, which I do that all the time. I skip songs if I feel like, oh, the crowd's probably not going to feel this one. Like I'll skip it. Then you got to like keep in mind like, okay, well, let's say it's an hour long set. It's like, okay, now are we going to have enough music to get there? Well, you always bring more than enough. That's the key. But like it's all that. It's like adding effects. So like another big part of it is like to like smoothly transition out of one track to another. A really common way of doing that is cutting the mid frequencies, and just kind of having like maybe that like kick underneath, or maybe kind of like the top part of the frequencies of like the vocals or percussion. That way, like what really carries like a lot of the like tone or like volume of the sound is cut when you cut the mids, so then that second song like can like, sound better coming in. And then on top of that, we're talking things like filters, beat repeat, all kinds of different like effects you can do on top of that. So there's a lot of buttons and they all do something on CDJs. But I mean, I guess that's generally kind of how it happens.
And so when you're mashing up songs, like what sort of, because some of the mashups I've heard are like absolutely bonkers and in some ways like so hilarious it makes you bop even more. One of my favorites I heard was, I don't know what the first song was, but it was some sort of build up into a beat drop, and the beat drop was literally the Mario World music.
Oh, I know what
So
you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that mashup.
What makes
Yeah.
you go, yes, I'm gonna go and mash like this sort of Ray thing, and then go straight into some game thing like Daytona or Mario or one of them? What goes on in the mind?
I mean, I really like, different DJs are gonna have different answers on this, but for me, it's as simple as I like stuff, whether that's video game music, whether that's funny songs, whether that's whatever. So whenever I mash things up or I play things at shows, it's just because I like it or I think the audience would like it. I did a show late last year at Sonic Expo, which is like a Sonic fan convention here in the US. It's in Texas. And at that show that I played that Mario World drop track as the first one. And I said on the mic, I said like shout outs to Sonic Racing Cross Worlds right as the Mario drop played, and the audience had a big laugh. So you can use it to troll and like have fun. But yeah, I don't know. I just like music. I like funny mashups. I just like sharing when literally my sets are just like it's the mid 2000s and I've taken one of the ear pods out and I'm giving them to you. Like, here you go. Listen.
Exactly, exactly. And you mentioned there that you performed at like a Sonic Expo and a little bit about Magfest and all that. So what other sort of venues have you DJ'd or even performed at as a bassist? Because I know you play bass.
True, yeah. So in my bands, various different venues, but mostly pretty small, like ones that, your listeners are probably not going to recognize from different small towns across the US. But like, as far as a DJ goes, I've played at a lot of different like events and venues. I played shows in Florida, with the collective Tiny Waves. Uh, I've played shows in Texas, including South by Southwest, music festival happens there. I've played here in California, opening for Glass Beach, which was a band some of my friends are in. Um, Magfest, many years. Yeah, I've San Francisco. I've been all over the place. It's hard to. I don't really think about it now, but like I really have played a lot of different places. But yeah, when I played bass, when I was in bands and stuff like that, like. I recently played with my siblings band, so like it was my first time playing bass again. But like we used to play all over the place, like mostly in our home state of Oklahoma, but like Texas, and we went to Denver one time. It was a lot of fun. So
You mentioned there like you were playing bass with your relatives' bands and stuff. Have you had any of your relatives like appear on tunes of yours by any chance?
not yet. No, we do very different kinds of things. We were kind of rivals when we were younger, admittedly. So me playing in their band is kind of it's kind of like we're grown ups now. We're gonna put our differences aside. I'm gonna help make their band great. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know who has performed on one of your remixes, and that is none other than Jun Senoue of Crush 40. And that was specifically, we'll speak a little bit about the Phantasy Star remix that you did of A World Beyond the Sky. So, how did that one come about? Because it's much more electronic rock than the original one ever was.
oh yeah, well it's a lot of things with how that kind of came to be. Um, so yeah, one thing we haven't mentioned is I actually worked at SEGA for 5 years. So I was a community manager on Phantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis, and Phantasy Star Online 2 before that. Um, but also, there's a lot of setup to this answer. I've known June for many years before I worked at SEGA.
Oh, really?
Like I knew June back since the 2000s from his forum. JunSenoue.com had a forum, an old school internet forum.
Huh.
And I met a lot of really cool people on that forum and Jun himself. And when I was in college, I asked him, I was like, hey, would you like rip a solo on one of my band's songs? And he said yes, and he did it.
Oh, that's sick. Oh, that
It
is
was
sick.
sick. Like to be in like college, being in a little ska band and like having the dude who wrote all your favorite like Sonic music play guitar on it. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I'm beyond jealous now.
Uh, well, I mean, I'll say this is to you and anyone, what you want in life, you have to ask for. Like you gotta manifest. So,
Exactly.
um, I mean, I didn't think he'd say yes, but I was stoked about it. But so years later, I eventually, I graduate college. I keep doing music stuff, and June, like from the sideline, has always supported me. Like I remember when we played South by Southwest, he was like saying congrats and stuff like that. And so in 2022, I want to say, yeah, 2022, hosted this live stream music festival for Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. And it went really well. Like we got a lot of viewers. The sentiment of it was really well. Like the players liked it. And all the while they were like, we want Crush 40 in this game. Like we want, Sonic music or whatever, what have you. And I was like, maybe we can make something work. So basically that year I made a pitch for like this like remix compilation that would also be music that players could get in the game so they could like, use it and listen to it in the game. Um, and yeah, so I hit up June. I was like, "Hey, bro, like, let's make a remix." Then I reached out to a few other artists, and bada boom, bada bing. I went to Japan and I pitched it, uh, and I think it went over well because they accepted it and we made it. And then I think it came out in 2023, and yeah, it was awesome. It was really just as simple as that. It was like players were like, "We want Crush 40 type music." I was like, I want to leverage the success of our like music festival into something more tangible and permanent. And it became kind of this what's called Fancy Star Remix. It's kind of like a remix EP.
Yeah, yeah. So what was it like then, like putting that track together? Like, what sort of like, what did you have? Like, did you have like access to like the original track stems, or what
Not for
was?
that one.
All right.
No, I didn't have any stems for A World Beyond the Sky. So actually, and musically, that is a very complicated song. So I tried mini mapping it out myself. But I was like, okay, I can't do all this on my own. So I actually asked Rob KTA to help me out. I was like, bro, I need your help. Like, please spot me on music theory because I'm not talented enough to do this on my own. So, and he was already making a remix for the Phantasy Star remix. So we kind of like worked back and forth. And it was a thing also where I had to help him navigate some sample usage. So we worked with each other. But I mean, I really wanted to kind of like use hi-fi rave sounds and match that with Sonoy's, signature sound. One thing I didn't expect was for him to ask, his bassist and drummer to play as well. And so they actually hopped on the track as well. I did not expect that. Um, but yeah, kind of just a mix of rave and rock, it was kind of like rave rock is what I call it. I think it's kind of a good sound for Fantasy Star. Um, really simple as that.
Very simple as that. And then you later got to work with June on Shadow Generations.
Mhm.
One of them was the Sonic 3 movie DLC. Look, the poster right there.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
One of them, though, was the Sonic 3 movie DLC, doing a remix of Throw It All Away with him on the guitar, you on the synth. What was it like when putting that one together and then finding out that none other than Keanu Reeves was voicing over this in the actual game?
So that was pretty cool. I'm not really like a movie person. I'm not really like a celebrity person, but I do know the impact Keanu has, especially in the video game world. Like, everyone knows the like Keanu clip of E3. It's like, you're breathtaking, for Cyberpunk and all that. So that was really cool. I mean, when I started working on music for Shadow Gens, I didn't really have much context as to what this music was going to be used for. Like, I got asked to make a remix of Throw It All Away, make a remix of Throw It All Away that's like, chilled out as well. So as far as the one that I worked on with Sonic Adventure Music Experience, Uh, I actually remixed the full song, like start to back, like the full track was remixed. Um, but the way like, video game, and this is the same case with Victory Heat Rally and any other project I've worked on, is you usually make a bunch of music and then some of it makes it in the game. And that was the same case with Shadow Generations. So at first it was only what we call the retrospective remix, like the lo-fi, if you want to call it that. It's not, I don't
Yeah, for
really
the
always see it as
collection
a lo-fi.
room.
Yeah, the collection room. First it was okay, that one's in the game, but the others aren't. I was like, okay, well at least I got one in the game, right? Cool. So then it was, oh, we are actually going to use a part of the Throw It All Away remix for DLC, but I didn't know what the DLC was. So I was just like, I wonder what that's gonna be. And I remember it was what is it? This it was in 2024, the fearless year of Shadow, as
Yeah,
it were.
yeah.
Um, that's when they revealed their like DC collab,
Oh yeah,
if I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
correctly. Like they
yeah.
had like Shadow as Batman and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, they're gonna do a Batman DLC. That's what I thought. I was like, but then, and this is so crazy, by the way. This is what I'm about to tell you is so crazy. So there's this Sony State of Play that year, or whatever they call it. I know there's different names for different Sony presentations, but the PlayStation thing, right? They have a trailer for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that my partner's band works on. So, and then it hard cuts into the movie 3 DLC. I'm just like, no way. So we back to back on the state of play. It was kind of sick.
Ah,
Um,
smashing brilliance.
I it's it was meant to be. I don't know. So
Yes.
that I learned in that moment when everyone else did. They're like, oh, it's a movie DLC. The voice of Keanu Reeves is in it, and then I knew unless this DLC that song was going to be on is something else, then this is probably it. And yeah, I knew it was going to be in a cutscene, so like that made sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, okay, it makes sense. It's gonna be in a cutscene with this DLC. So.
And so when it came to doing the retrospective version for the collection room, how did that one sort of come about? Because it's really, I mean, really moody, really dark, but also just sort of, it works when you're in that room reading Gerald's book and listening to reading, where all Shadow's lore came from. And it really works in the background, blends in super well. So how did that one come about? Like putting it together.
So yeah, actually, there's a pretty good story about how that one first started. Is that New Year's Eve 2023 becomes 2024. I actually didn't go to a party or go out at all. Um, I believe my partner's band was on tour, so like I decided to stay home and start working on that. So I actually worked on that as it turned into 2024 here in the Pacific time zone. Um, that one kind of like I didn't really have a point of reference as far as what it would be accompanying. So like when people like I've seen comments of people saying things like, "Oh, you can tell that the musician who made this like really like was like really trying to portray like Gerald's, journal story in a way that like was like real." No, not actually. It was just a happy coincidence that it worked out that way. Now, obviously, I made it moody because it's a shadow track, and Throw It All Away is a very moody song, right? Like, um, but no, I mean, and this is kind of weird to say. Like, hear me out on this. I didn't set out to make it a lo-fi track. I set out to make it what I call like as a music genre, gift shop music. Like literally like okay, welcome to White Space. Pass through the collection room on your way out and have a great day. Thanks for visiting Shadow Generations. Like that kind of stuff. Like literally like gift shop music is what I was thinking. I was like, how can I like I want this to be playing over a speaker, you know?
Yeah,
And I
okay.
also didn't have a point of reference for the collection room itself other than Sonic Generations collection room. So in my head, I was thinking the Sonic Generations collections room, like just like, I didn't even know that at that point that the hub world was 3D. Yeah, I think it was super cool that the collection room was in 3D. Like I assumed it was like a 2D space, like in the original Generations at that point. So, um, but yeah, that track, I really like that remix. I think that it is representative of some of the things that I do really well that I don't advertise about myself. Like I always say, like, oh, I'm a DJ and I make like intense music or like fast music, but like before Shadow Generations, I actually worked on a lo-fi remix for Super Monkey Ball,
Really?
the official
I
Super
did
Monkey
not
Ball
know
YouTube channel.
that.
A lot of people don't know this, yeah. And if you listen to it, it shares a lot of DNA of the Collection Room songs. So I think personally that someone at Sega Japan probably heard that Super Monkey Ball remix and was like, "Ah, June, you should ask her." Or June just took a chance on me, and I mean, I'm not complaining, but uh, yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point, but Collection Room was a fun track. Loved it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I'll ask about the collection room music before we kind of go away from it is some people, even myself, kind of struggle to actually hear the throw it all away part. Like, if I didn't know any better, I just would have assumed it was an original, completely original song that you put together. So, where is throw it all away in the track? Like, where can I kind of hear out for it?
So there's a really, if you want to hear it, go on YouTube and search up Throw It All Away Retrospective or Throw It Away Collection Room, Throw It All Away Shadow Generations, and then put like vocal remix because there's people who've taken the vocal and the BPM is way different. So they had to stretch the vocals real long and placed on top. It's gonna sound silly. It's not meant to like sound like great, but it will help you understand like compositionally how they overlap. I didn't use much of the lead melody, which is like the most iconic part, like the ba 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 da ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba da. Um, and I purposely left out some of the like most important notes in that melody of what I did use because I wanted it to be kind of like a mystery, you know? Like Shadow's kind of like unearthing this, his past or whatever. And again, I didn't have a point of reference for the journal, so this is all just a really happy coincidence that it worked out that way. But
Yeah, definitely. Because now that I can hear, because like I knew I was hearing a little bit of the lead, but not like a lot. But that definitely explains that sort of creative decision as to why he did that. And again, like what a happy coincidence that it actually worked and worked for that scene so well.
yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful. I see people's comments or people have told me like, oh yeah, like people are much younger than me. People saying like, I'm nostalgic for that, which is crazy because that was just 2 years ago. But like, I get it though. Like a game comes out, everyone's really excited. There's a lot of anticipation around it. I think Shadow Generations was a little better than most people probably expected, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because I mean, I was not like, I was just kind of going, oh yeah, this will be a great Jun Senoue remix album with a free game attached to it. Honestly, that's what I was thinking. And then I played the game, and I won't sugarcoat it. It's like my favorite game of this decade. It's my
it's
favorite.
up there. It's one of the better Sonic games.
Oh yeah, it's really like if you have not played a Sonic game, I highly would recommend Sonic X Shadow Generations because it's just so well put together and really well polished.
I agree.
But yeah, I do agree with what other people are saying about it being nostalgic. I think that will eventually give it 10, 15 years, and there will be people who have extreme nostalgia for that game, as like some of the other games like Adventure 2 and Generations, even the original.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think also just kind of how that game came out. They had the anime episodes leading up to it, and then the movie after. Like, I think all that stuff in conjunction, people will look back and be like, "Whoa, that was like so crazy," you know? Um, Certainly as like someone who played Sonic Adventure 2 when it came out, all those years ago, I never thought that we'd have a Keanu Reeves as Shadow in a movie or anything like that. So.
Did you ever think when you were playing Sonic Adventure 2 that you'd even have a chance to work on a Sonic game with Jun Senoue, who is the sound director on Sonic Adventure 2 as well?
Kind of a hard thing to answer because, like, yes, it was a goal of mine. Absolutely. Like, and you hear this out of Sonic fans all the time is like, oh, I want to work on a Sonic game one day. I want to work for Sega one day, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's a pretty common thing that Sonic fans express. But what did I ever think was actually going to happen? Probably not. Like, it was kind of more of a dream than a goal, I guess you could say. And like, even then, like, I mean, when I was making the like stuff with June for Phantasy Star, my head was not like June's gonna ask me for to make Sonic music. That was a complete surprise and a blessing, you know. So, uh, yeah. To answer your question, I dreamed about it, but did I think it was gonna actually happen? No. I'm just very thankful. I'm very blessed. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a dream. If you look at the credits, it says remix artist, and right underneath Crush 40, G-Wiz.
I've got this great screenshot of Dark Side Phil in a Sonic hat, and it says Crush 40, and it says G-Wiz, and I love that. But anyway,
Exactly. Now, going off of Shadow Generations, a little bit back into Phantasy Star Online too, because I know you mentioned a little bit about doing a Phantasy Star rave. Now, I want to know how the hell that worked out, because I watched a bit of it and I was going, wow, that rave in the game, that's pretty cool. So how did that sort of come about?
this is something actually before I even joined SEGA I wanted to do. So I knew the previous community manager, Nathan, who worked uh, in the original Phantasy Star Online 2 when it launched in 2020. And I said, like, bro, I love this game. Excuse me. Sorry. I love this game. We should do a rave in it. And so I kind of like pitched this idea unsolicited before I got employed. Didn't go anywhere. Then I had my job interview, and in my job interview, I actually brought it up and showed them my like concept for it and everything. And I think that was part of the reason why everyone like they helped. I got a job out of it. Is they're like, "Ooh, wow!" And then it was something they always were like, "Yeah, we'll eventually do that." But it was a situation where like specifically with PSO2 and GS, we had like different regions in the game that would launch. It's like new areas in the game that players could explore, right? And we had our third region launching in I think this was May or June of 2022. And essentially, something happened where there was gonna be some sort of promotional thing for it, but that fell away. So it was like, okay, Alyssa, how quickly can you finally put this rave idea together? So I reached out to a bunch of people, um, and we made it work, and it was really cool. It was at the time the PSO2 community really needed something like that. It was not in a good place in 2022. That's all I'll say. And but for that one night, things really like were chill, and I feel like for a lot of people it was really needed. It was a breath of fresh air in the community. So
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it looks like, I mean, I wasn't there to experience it. I only found out about it like a month ago, but it just looks like really cool. Like, holy moly, there's a rave in the game.
it was a lot of
Like,
fun.
it was great. It was great advertising for the game. I'll give it that.
Well, it was I think, and this is part of the reason why I think we got to do Fantasy Star Remix was because of how successful that was. That got like twice the views of like anything else we were doing at the time. So it really like I think that kind of just like set off a flag in the, minds of maybe some of the people who were working on the game in Japan was like, oh, this worked, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And during your time in Sega, you also got to interview various Puyo Puyo developers on of their official streams. So I'd love to know how did that all like happen? Because none of them seem to know a Ball's notion of English. So like, what planning was going on to get these to work and then get it all translated and make sure that they're understanding what questions you're asking and yeah.
Yeah, so PO Live was our live stream series. We did 4 episodes of it. Maybe the most fun, my favorite thing I ever worked on at Sega was PO Live. PO Live is just so special to me. But yeah, I mean, in case of like those interviews that we did on a few of those episodes, um, yeah, I mean, like I would already like, for example, like Hasuyamada-san, who's one of the tip top people on the PO series. Like I was already kind of like pitching to him what the content of these live streams was going to be. So, naturally it was like, okay, can we interview devs and ask fan questions that maybe like an interviewer from like an outlet like an IGN or something like that wouldn't be as inclined to ask, right? Like when we ask about like what was your work on Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg like that's a question for Sega fans, right? That's not really
Yeah.
like even PO related. So
That's the sort of thing that, like, if I was interviewing one of those Sega employees, I'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Exactly.
Shenmue, tell me all about
Like
that.
it's funny. The last boss I had before I left Sega was the U.S. producer for the Shinmu series. So, I've interacted with a ton of the Sega greats, and in relation to Puyo, yeah, it was just a situation where I was like, you're U.S. fans, they're the Puyo fans are great. There's like so little drama compared to like other gaming communities. And I don't just mean Sega, I mean like the whole gaming community. Like you look into these days, every fandom, it's just like everyone's at each other's throats. But Puyo was such a great little community, and uh, I think it was just because the Puyo fans were so receptive to having fun, you know, that was able we were able to make kind of like a silly live stream cartoon show and make it work as a result. So
Yeah. So, how did they understand, like, what you were saying in the interview?
yeah, I mean those interviews were pre-recorded. So when you watch the live stream, it actually cuts to a pre-recording when the interview starts. But I mean, what the reality is, it was like a call like this, like a Zoom like call, just like this. But it was, through, our Sega internal systems, and we have translators at Sega, so or had, I don't work there anymore. But when I worked there, they had translators. And yeah, I mean, it was just as simple as like, first off, they got translations of the questions ahead of time, and we also had a real-time translator there. Um, answering after they would speak in Japanese, there would be an English, answer, and then I would take that and I would turn it into subtitles, and essentially that's how it happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, it turned out great. I mean, some of the information that you got, like about Billy Hatcher or Sonic and the Black Knight, you're kind of going, I mean, we probably never would have gotten any of that if it wasn't for the questions that you asked. So, yeah, I do appreciate those interviews. They turn out very good.
Thank you. I mean, I'm a fan too. Like I want to know about all the crazy stuff that these dudes worked on in the 2000s and whatever. So
Exactly, exactly. We'll get off your music and DJing just for a little bit, because I'd like to ask you a little bit about the fact that you've raced stock cars.
oh yeah.
Now, I've never interviewed a race driver. I've interviewed people who cover motorsports, such as Alex Jakes and Josh Revel, but never a race driver. So, what got you into racing, and how did you get the opportunity to actually race one of these cars?
So racing is my DNA. Okay, racing is my life. Like we talk about Sega, that's all nice and good. We talk about DJing, that's great. Racing is my shit. Excuse my language, kids. Uh, racing. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in the U.S. South, so naturally, stock car racing was accessible to me when I was much younger, and I had a real passion for it, a real passion for it, like from like before I could walk, like and yeah, I mean, like I was really fortunate when I was a kid to get to go to a lot of like old school NASCAR races. I got to see Dale Earnhardt drive in person,
Oh,
to see Dale
nice.
Jr.'s first win. So if you're at all privy to that world, you'll know how significant those moments were. Um, when I was a very little kid, like a very, very little kid, like 1995 or 6 or something like that. I remember this very specifically going to Sam's Club, which I don't know if you're familiar with. It's like Costco. It's like Walmart's Costco out here in the US. And in the 90s, PC software and games, like they'd have these big boxes for them, right? And like these big cardboard boxes, and they'd be all across the wall when you go to like a software section in a store. So you'd walk into Sam's Club, and there'd just be these walls, right, as soon as you walk in, of like computer software. And there was this one box that had this big, you know, blue and red stock car on the front of it, Daytona USA. I was just like, Mom, there's a NASCAR game. I want it. And I never played a Sega game before at that point. And so we get the Daytona PC game and we go home and I download it off the CD-ROM or whatever and I'm playing it and I love it. And I'm like, this is not NASCAR, but it's very cool. Uh, And fun fact, I was so like, because I lived out in the middle of the country and I didn't have many like points for pop culture reference. The Sonic in that game that's on the like
Yeah.
wall, I thought he was from Daytona. So years later, I saw Sonic Adventure in a Toys R Us, and I was like, "Oh, they made a game about the Daytona guy. That's cool." Like,
Oh,
I kid you
brilliant.
not, that was my thought process as a kid. So, but yeah, no, I mean, so that's to say is that many years later, it's funny how my introduction to Sega was stock car racing, and then Sega eventually helped pay for, my income at Sega helped me get back into the world of stock car racing as an adult. Um, But yeah, I hit up owners. I'm just like, yo, how much? I want to come drive at your track. I want to come drive your car. Um, and I'm just really aggressive and annoying about it until someone says yes. So
Anyway, when it came to racing, anyway, what sort of tracks did you race on? Did you get any sort of like race wins, class wins, podiums, any of that? What's what?
no, no. So I have had to fight and scrap for every little opportunity I've had. Never driven anything that's race winning, like even has race winning speed. So like, that's a dream of mine. And not even a dream, that's a goal of mine is to win a race one day. Um, but so far, I've been mostly just getting my feet wet. I don't have the upbringing that a lot of people who race in the same kind of series that I have had. I don't have, years and years of going to the track as a teenager and, you know, or a parent that like, raced before me. I kind of have to figure everything out, and it's very expensive. So it's just every like new like owner I find, I'm just like, is this car gonna be able to win? Is it not? How much to drive it? It's tough. And then oftentimes, like this has happened too. I've flown out to, a short track to race, and everything's been ready, and then they've pulled me out of the car because some rich kid flew into town and wants to do it instead.
Oh, that stinks.
So you go halfway across the country for that. Like, I mean, that's the reality of these kinds of things, right? Um, but to answer your question, more specifically, like Meridian Speedway, I've done stuff at Orange Show Speedway, Stafford Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, and probably a couple others that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but those are the more recent ones.
Which racetrack would you like to win at?
Any? I'm not gonna be picky about that, but I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, it would be Daytona, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Daytona.
I'll sing the song if I win one day at Daytona.
Yeah, and then everyone will be confused except for the five Sega fans that showed up to that race.
You would be surprised how many people in the stock car racing world know of Daytona, USA.
Oh,
Uh,
class.
NASCAR champion Kyle Busch has a Ford Daytona setup in his house. So, um, that game has embedded itself into the culture of stock car racing, I promise you.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. That's brilliant to hear. And here's probably a kind of a whack question about racing stock cars that I have that I know the answer will probably be no. But because it's your namesake, I thought, you know what, I may as well ask it. And my question is, has G-Wiz driven a G-Wiz?
No. I know what you're talking about. No, and I've heard that car's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's all I ever see when I like do a GWIZ name search when I try to find like articles or anything about like especially when Shadow Generations came out. I was like deep searching everywhere to see what people are
Yeah.
saying about it. But like all I ever see about the GWiz car model is that it's like really bad. Like anyone just talking about it is just saying it's bad. So probably not my speed, but one day, if I ever get the chance to even just take it out for a test drive, I will just to say I did it. So we'll see.
Even just a bloody photograph with the G-Wiz, at least. You gotta get it.
One day, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Now we're coming kind of close to the end of the interview now, so just a few kind of last questions for you here. What sort of plans do you have for like the future? Like any sort of music in the pipeline? Any DJing? What's going on?
Yeah, so I have a couple of unannounced shows this year. I have a race next week.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. And I have always music that I want to release, but I kind of keep my discography pretty tight and closed because I don't like to just put things out for the sake of putting things out. I like to put things out that I'm like super passionate and 100% committed to. Um, I started kind of kicking around an idea for an EP last year, and it's starting. I think I have like the right like mindset now to kind of like maybe finally put out something that's more than just a single or a remix. So you might see that. But definitely this year you'll be seeing more shows and, getting up the hijinks as I always do online. Uh, y'all know how it is. So
Yeah, and suppose if there's anyone watching this who wants to get into making music like EDM and all that, how does one get into that? What sort of advice would you give to people who are just starting out, or maybe are like me who makes music but absolutely sucks at making EDM?
well, first off, I don't think that it's necessarily a thing where people like suck at making music. I think they're learning to make music, if that makes sense. Learning
Okay.
to make whatever the best version of the music they want to make is. And that's my like soft way of saying you have to work at it, right? Like, and you have to listen to a lot of music. Like the reason I was able to, because my discography has a lot of different styles in it. Like I have a hard time even nailing down just like one like genre I fall under, which I don't fall under one genre. But what assisted me more than anything was just being a fan of music, was listening to as much music as possible. I came up in an era where music arguably was more accessible than it is now. I mean, obviously it's accessible in the sense that like you can go on like a Spotify or an Apple Music and pull up any song anytime. But there was something different about the 2000s whenever I could go on like Waffles.fm, if anyone knows what that is out there, and like just go down the list of torrents and just be like, that album sounds cool. I'll download that, download that, download that. And so like after school, like high school, I come home and I listen to like 3 or 4 new albums every day. So like if you're passionate about music, listen to as much music as possible. Watch tutorials on YouTube, but don't just watch them. Have your DAW open or whatever you're using and do it as you're watching them so you like internalize what you're seeing. You're not just like, oh, that's a neat trick. I might use that one day. Like actually do it, right? Um, yeah, I mean, that would be some pointers, but I mean, if you make music and you put it out there and you listen to other people's music and you like it and you tell them how much you like it, eventually these worlds will come together and you'll meet other cool musicians and you'll get to play shows and stuff like that. It's just don't go looking for opportunity. Let the opportunity come to you, is what I'd say.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, I think that's probably a great way to end it off with that little advice there. So with that, I think we'll end it there. G-Wiz, thank you very much for coming on. Is there any last things you'd like to say to all the people watching this? And would you like to plug in your own socials?
Uh, Big Froggo will never die. And that's for the Phantasy Star fans.
Okay.
And socials, I'm at GWIZ of the stars on anything and everywhere. It's the only username I use. That's GWIZ of the stars. If you see someone else that's named GWIZ, it's a different GWIZ. It's not me. All right. So yeah, hit me up, and yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. It was a great interview. We got to go into all these individual different parts of my life. I don't think I've ever had an interview that encompassed everything before. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad I could make that happen, and I'm glad that you said something very unique for the last words, because nobody says, "Oh, thanks for going on."
Big Froggo.
Big Froggo.
Man.
Big Froggy. Anyway.
Big Froggy, there you go. That's I should have put that in the fan star.
Yeah. Anyway, you can find me simply on my YouTube channel, Jack Lucas Carefree. I'm also available on Facebook and Instagram, where I'll be posting highlights of all the interviews that I put up, and also a lot of new music as well. A lot of new music of mine is coming out on June the 20th, so you may as well stay tuned for all of that. But with that, G-Wiz, thank you very much for coming on, and I will see you very soon in another interview, hopefully with Dickie Rock's son, Jason Rock. So look forward to that. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.